So, this is by far probably the most requested change for the game that I came across this year. I wanted to cover it to make sure that we get the word out that this has to be one of the most frustrating things about this game at the moment. Saber, if you won't let us see what classes are already in a co-op operation, then take away the one class per op restriction. And frankly, I don't know. I kind of think about it and it's like, could you imagine two tacticals just overlaying their scans? And I don't know. I think, I think having the restrictions feels a little bit better for picking a solid team synergy, because essentially you could pick a team full of bulwarks and struggle against, bulwark counters. Same goes for, assaults or whatever. My point is, this could seem better than it actually would be. I think right now we have a good balance when it comes to, the team you pick and everything. I'm not 100% sure if, the class restriction is something that needs to be taken away. However, the ability to see what class is already in the operation is definitely something that should have been added in. I mean, frankly, it's just matchmaking, right? If you're queuing in as a tactical, maybe have the game not matchmake you into a game with another tactical. Not too sure what Saber's approach on this is. Definitely let me know in the comments if you have any ideas. I'm just a little skeptical of joining a team and having two assault players, and then essentially, depending on what your class is, you basically are in a position to carry range damage the entire time. Maybe the assaults aren't playing as clean and they go down because they're not very tanky. And since you needed to play sniper because you have two assaults on the team, you definitely could have used a bulwark. So I don't know. I just think the class restriction I bet you it can open up some cool team synergies, but I also think with random teammates, it can kind of be a pain to deal with. As far as, random teammates can, sometimes they don't think things through. So I mean, it would be funny to see 3 assaults take on, like Fall of Atreus or something. But yeah, that's exactly my concern though. Just queued for 7 in-progress ops in a row using Quick Match, and they all had someone already playing the class I wanted to play. But instead of having this information right off the bat, I have to skip the first take-off animation screen, wait for the loading screen, then you get to the class selection screen and realize you can't pick your favorite class. Then you have to load the mission, hit escape, quit back to the battle barge, and wait for another loading screen. Yeah, this has to change. I'm not too sure if Saber ever mentioned anything about this. I'm not too sure they're going to. But it's not so much of the class restrictions that bother me, it's just how matchmaking works. And I hope they have a good plan for it. This is a horribly designed system, and it should either let us play as many classes as we want, or let us see the classes in play so I don't waste half my playtime in loading screens. I mean, yeah, I agree with this. I 100% agree with this. They mentioned Deep Rock Galactic, but it's a different game. Deep Rock Galactic is a good game, but it's a different game, and it doesn't have the same exact requirements as Space Marines 2. Also, Space Marines 2 combat is a little bit more sweaty than Deep Rock Galactic, where Deep Rock Galactic is like an engineering type game, and Space Marines 2 is like pure action. Engineering action, maybe I'll call Deep Rock Galactic. A new genre. Okay, maybe not actually. There's like factory games and stuff. Sorry, I don't play games like that. They're cool though. I don't mind as much if they pop me into a battle barge and I see someone wanting to play the same class, but it's intolerable to load into an ongoing match only to not be able to pick the class you want, and having to, no easy way to go back to the battle barge or title without selecting a class and loading in. Okay, I guess this is a good point. I think some of the words here are kind of misplaced, but yeah, they're essentially right about this. It's not so much of loading into a game before the operation. It's when the operation is going, it's when the operation is like active. Loading into like a lethal, ruthless, or substantial operation when you have like a level 1 class or like the level 1 classes are the only ones available, that can be rough. And I think, essentially, if you have to level up all your classes in minimal or average up to 10 and then go into the queue. I don't know. That just feels tedious, right? I see someone wanting to play the same class, but it's intolerable to load into an ongoing match. Yeah, it's mostly about the ongoing match, 100%. It's like, I get it. I do understand the class restrictions a tad. I do think it would be fun to try, an operation without class restrictions. I just think there could be some really bad teams. There could be some really good teams, but I have a feeling there could be some really bad teams with no class restrictions. No easy way to go back to the battle barge or title without selecting a class and loading in. I mean, essentially you can just select a class, load in, and then leave, I guess. But yeah, that's tedious. That's insane. This is like I feel like that's the only thing they really need to change. They don't need to change you matchmaking into a group that didn't start an operation. They need to change matchmaking for groups that are in an operation, basically. That could be tricky. That could be tricky. Now, of course, it means mistakes were made at some point in the game's development, which happens, but because of the fact that it's still an issue, at least to me, makes it obvious that it really isn't the simple fix people think it is. I agree. We have multiple ways matchmaking can kind of be a pain, as far as, class restrictions and such. But yeah, essentially, it definitely doesn't feel like it's a simple thing to fix. But regardless of the issue itself and how to go about resolving it, one solution is not and never will be getting rid of one of the defining mechanics of operations. I guess he's talking about the class restrictions, of which a significant amount of balancing is based on. Yeah, I agree too. I agree with both these takes. I mean, I do hope they fix the matchmaking. I do believe they can, at least for active operations. But yeah, as much as I want to play a game with 3 bulwarks, I'm genuinely concerned if we're able to beat, chaos operations that way. But it would be, I guess we could. It would be funny just to see the bulwarks just continuously spam the banner and just heal themselves. But, essentially, they're going to use a Neo-Volk. Oh, no, the plasma pistol's pretty good. I don't know, I guess it's doable. I think there's only maybe the assault class would be kind of a pain to go into a lethal or ruthless operation with 3 assaults. That could be a situation. Maybe same goes for sniper too, because they're pretty squishy as well. It seems like the squishier classes basically have specialties, and if you loosen up the class restrictions or just take them out, those specialties can backfire, basically, because then it's like your team went from well-rounded to only doing one thing, right? And not every operation is going to be kind to that sort of playstyle, So, as much as I want to, play the game with 3 bulwarks, I understand that it's probably impossible to beat a handful of the operations with 3 bulwarks. I can somewhat understand the class restriction in public lobbies, but I think private lobby games, they need to at least give us an option to remove the restriction. Ooh, I like this idea. I don't know if they can implement that, it's obviously not going to be a priority, but I think that could work. Let us fulfill the power fantasy. Secret level has 3 Blade Guard vets, and Titus, why can't we have 3 bulwarks? The one thing that stood out to me was Calgor. He spawns in with 2 bulwarks, right? So even his miniature has 2 bulwarks with him. I gotta go pick that up also. It looks so cool. Regardless, I do think, again, 3 of one class could be a little bit heavy-handed in the way they balance the game. But it would be kind of cool to see private lobbies have no class restriction, or at least have the option. I could actually see that working. Because then it's you all have to be you all have to be basically communicating and, agree with the operation, the difficulty. I think that way you can actually get a good run with let's say, an unbalanced team. So, that would be interesting. I think this is a good idea, but I just don't think it's very high on the priority list. If I was to, rank or not rank, but at least compare the issue with matchmaking into an operation that is already going on and somebody already has their class, I think that kind of is more important than having, no class restrictions, essentially. So, I don't know. Let me know in the comments how you feel about this. That's basically how I feel. It's not a super game-breaking thing. It is very frustrating to lose 20 minutes trying to queue up, or maybe even an hour. Who knows? So I really hope they, can adjust that in a way. But I'm not too interested in seeing class restrictions go away. I'm just a little skeptical. But yeah, let me know in the comments how you feel about that. The matchmaking issue is definitely one of the most requested changes of the year, pretty much.